media and may contain pre-recorded material.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Welcome to it Tuesdays here. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey, and you. Many of you still ready to fire up and run to that hill. Husker baseball looming. We'll hear from head coach Will Bolt and some of the fellas that'll be covering it this year. Michael Bruntz with Husker 24/7 Sports. Dear friend and former co-host Nick Hanley going to join us as he's part of Husker baseball this spring. That'll happen in hour two. Mitch Sherman, a veteran of Nebraska baseball and all things Huskers, going to join us from The Athletic in hour one. Numbers to dial up, 489-1240, 489-1240, 800-825-5865. Can call either line at your convenience and find us on email, chris@hailvarsity.com, and check us out in the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube. Can watch the show there, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter at HVarsity Radio, as we'll get the official on Mike Eckler. What's the word on Burkay? A bum wheel, yes, but how long is that tire going to be flat? And quite a bit more on Nebraska baseball. So we'll get into it. We'll get our starting five shout-outs going. So I got this text from my kid. I always love bringing Junior into the mix and, quite frankly, outing him if he's being, as I like to call him, a vicious little monkey. So he let me know one of his buddies just got a 2024 RS3.
Oh,
that's Audi if you're scoring at home.
Oh, boy.
So way back a long time ago in a land far, far away, Junior also had an Audi.
Okay.
The Audi chose not to run. Never fear, though.
Oh.
The warranty was good, and now he has a compact car that will not get him speeding tickets. And he doesn't like it compared to what he had. All that being said, he let me know that. He texted his mother. He texted me. He's like, look, my buddy just got a 2024 RS3. And I just sent the response back, man, his parents really must love him. His response, well, the kid doesn't even have a 2.0 GPA.
Valid point.
Yeah, very valid point. It's like, well, and your GPA's 2 times that. I don't know who you've been sitting by in class all these years, but good on you. So, I said, think what you'd be driving, Junior, if you'd get up on time or get home on time and wouldn't leave food out for the dogs to rummage through. And he said, well, probably still the same car you and Mom bought me. So that was my part of my prep today, was fending off my buddy got an Audi, why can't I? So we don't love you. All right, let's get to the starting five shout outs. Uncle Larry is in. Please don't snow us in. Uncle Larry, I second and third that motion, my friend. NASCAR Eric here says, sup fellas, one day closer to baseball. Yes, it is. Captain is here, says, go Big Fred. Go Big Fred is 13-5 in February the last 3 years. The other Dave is here. Eckler official equal Red Bull afternoon for me. Arlo, good to have you. Kobe is in. Kobe says 3 days till baseball. Anonymous checks in, says Husker fan in April. How are we going to find playing time for all these wide receivers? Husker fan in October. We don't have any wide receivers that are any good. I don't know that will be an issue.
A lot of talent.
I think Coach Shorts and I think Coach Dana will make sure the wideouts on the field can block, can catch, and can block and catch.
And can function.
Right. I think they'll do what they're asked, and they'll do it at a high level. Justin, good to have you in. Patrick checks in. So Brian Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty, says, and Griffiths for some potential stretch 5 minutes with Burkay out is interesting if he can find his 3-point shooting stroke. I hear you. I mean, Griffiths was a guy with the goggles that can hit from downtown. You just haven't seen much of him off the pine. Tuck, we're all in the freezer. Tuck, don't disagree. Brad is here, says, hey, fellas. Rocco, the other Rocco, is in. Tiger Shark Diver says, you gave Junior an Audi? Lucky little bastard. Yeah, but he was out with a friend, and he was going to a basketball game. And that was the final time his Audi ran.
Oh.
It just tapped out, said, fare thee well, right in front of PBA.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, we thought we were getting a 2011 with less than 40,000 miles on it, all-wheel drive convertible. Mm-hmm. It was a gorgeous red, had a back camera, which was early for the 2011 models, and it just needed a different computer chip and another way to get the air to move through the, I don't know, man. It would have been another several $1,000s in repairs. So,
boy, they sold you a bill of goods, didn't they?
It wasn't intentional because we test drove it, and it had a 3-month warranty. So we were covered.
That's the good thing.
And the dude we got it from is a stand-up dude, legit and phenomenal guy that my dad did a lot of work with cars. So this didn't happen. But we've avoided speeding tickets for the last 2.5 years.
That's good.
But yes, Tiger Shark, I concur with that. I had an Oldsmobile. Give me your first car shout-outs in the stream as well. Uncle Jimmy says, can't wait to hear from my buddy Nick. I can't wait to check in with Nick. He'll be on the stream with us at 5:25, so can watch the interview. Let's start off, though, with a little bit of Eckler here, as it's officially official. Said his goodbye to Tennessee fans yesterday, officially joining Nebraska's staff. Really good write-up, and implore you to check out Mitch Sherman's story as he caught up with Tennessee's head baseball coach and a couple of folks that played special teams for Eckler. And we have spent time with Eckler from time to time, and this goes all the way back to Cody Green and Nebraska's recruitment of him in 2008. And if you remember Cody, the Texas quarterback, good dude, talented golfer. So it's really kind of full circle. And you look at the statement that was put out by the Sports Information Department. Eckler brings a history of special teams excellence. That the word from Rule. His work with Tennessee special teams has been elite, regardless of what stats you're looking at over the past 4 years. Tennessee special teams have been at near the top of the nation, and Mike's energy and true passion for special teams carries over to the players on his units, and that'll have a positive impact on the program. I think what, to me, speaks most about Eckler, and I just remember starting the interview off with him. This was a Saturday. We had him on the weekend edition, and I'm like, how's your day, dude? Congrats on the Tennessee gig. He's like, well, how you guys? I'm like, we're all right. He's like, all right. I'm like, well, what's wrong with all right? He's like, well, it's average. Average isn't good enough. I mean, just boom, all the time guy. It's always turned on. And the thing that you got to have in football, but you really got to have, if we're just talking kicking game, you got to have consistency. Mm-hmm. You scream for it for your with your favorite teams. You scream for it, and you're not always going to be consistent against the upper echelon. There's a big game with a little number next to it on the schedule for a reason. Mm-hmm. How many shots do you get as a football program in a given season? What's your track record like in big games against ranked teams? You get one of those, it breeds confidence. You can go out and do it again, presumably. And that's just the thing that's evaded Nebraska football in that phase of football for far, far, far too long. It was excellence. All right. It was excellence under Mike Eckler. It was excellence under Coach Osborne. It was excellence under Bo Pelini and Papuchis. I mean, it was damn good. It was difference making. It was difference making to the point you got to 9 or 10 wins in that era. And then you paid guys a ton of money post that era, and it just never, ever got to where it needed to be until Bill Busch got here. And when Bill Busch took over, it was really good because Bill Busch is really good at doing that as well. So you want certainty, you crave certainty, and you need and have to have consistency when it comes to punting and when it comes to field goal kicking. You crave consistency when it comes to something as simple as a snap back to a holder or a snap back to a punter. And you want some consistency in the form of positive movement with your punt returns, right? You go find a guy, you recruit all sorts of guys with giddy up and make you miss. Let them go get 8 to 12 yards for you on a return. So you start out with good field position. Hell, maybe break one, Dejon Gomes or Johnny Rodgers style or Amir Abdullah style to flip the game. And you get that thing going, man. It's a good thing. And it's going to be demanded. It's going to be positive energy, and it's going to be a high standard. That's my little diatribe on the official on Mike Eckler. Let's talk consistency again. We talk about Nebraska baseball. Few teams can run out this roster, can run out 8 or 9 guys that did it well last year. You're 12 deep on the hill. You got guys that know their role, guys that have put the work in to be difference making with your starting rotation. And big things are expected. Big things are embraced. You look at Irvine and Vandy and San Diego State and Grand Canyon, McConaughey, Horn, Walsh, Brockett. Those are all guys that have pitched well for you. I'm pretty interested, and we'll hear from Will Bolt around 4:40 around Ty Horn. Because I love that dude's demeanor. I love his live arm. I like what I saw in the glimpse against Florida before the season was done. And I like the work, Justice, he put in to really understand and understand the fact I can't go Nolan Ryan on everybody and blow people away with just my fastball. Got to work on my breaking pitch. Got to work on my changeup. And that's been a point of emphasis. You've got your guy that is expected to be, Big Ten Pitcher of the Year, All-American in McConaughey. How do you deal with expectations that way? Well, again, it's consistency. Do you approach it like any other game, like any other season, with your own demands, your own standard? So Nebraska and their pitching will be difference-making. Nebraska and their offense and their versatility will be difference-making. And there is so much competition, you better be playing good baseball, or there's somebody else can take your spot. And you know what? You miss a day, you might not see the field again. The old Wally Pipp story. So, and I know you spend some time with some of the baseball dudes. They've got to be pretty fired up about the season. You also have underclassmen that have been putting the work in, that are on the verge of being their own studs. They just got some guys in front of them.
Yeah, listen, I hang out with a couple of the guys, Caleb Clark, Jalen Worthy. I see them all the time in class. Great guys. We've gotten to know each other pretty well, and just talking to them and just getting the vibe about the season. Like, this is a deep roster. Like, when you look at it, there's going to be 6-7 guys that are going to consistently day in and day out from the lineup produce. And then you go out to the hill, you got a guy who's projected All-American in Mason McConaughey. You got Tyner Horn, who's got absolutely electric stuff. You get a proven Big Ten arm in Will Walsh, who can eat innings and give you great moments at times. And And then Jackson Brockett, who twirled a no-hitter in a midweek game against Kansas State, a team that, oh, by the way, made a super regional after knocking off Arkansas in their home barn. So, I mean, you get proven starters, right? You go out to the bullpen. They got Luke Broderick, who's absolutely electric from Iowa Western. You got Jalen Worthley, J-Dub, taking out the back of the pen. And you got a veteran-proven arm, and Drew Christo can do it. You get Casey Dice back. You've got some other guys in there, and you've got freshmen in the mix like Price Bender and Jay Sean Unger, who are guys that have some really top-of-the-line stuff. So it's a fleshed-out roster with some big stuff. And, oh, by the way, you bring in the Summit League Player of the Year in Kel Frost, who, if word out of camp proves to be true, is absolutely swinging the stick right now. And Case Sanderson's making the move over to first base. What do you get out of him? It is a deep roster with veteran guys who understand what it takes to win in this league.
We will hear on this roster, this team, these expectations, and hey, you're in an expanded league that should give you a little more cachet, should give you a little more RPI relief or opportunity. That's all well and good, but you are not for the faint of heart. The way you start out, and I love that with Will Bolt and how he is scheduled. Great interview with Will, with Damon and Ravi this morning. Check that out as well on the Hurrdat Sports podcast. So we'll get it all covered. We'll cover all the bases, so to speak, and we'll also spend some time here on what Thursday night's outlook is without Burkay in that bad wheel, unless Mr. Miyagi, an elephant needle, and a priest show up.
I don't know. He was walking on crutches earlier in class, so not a good look.
It's going to be one of these.
Right.
And the elephant needle.
The elephant needle.
Weston, 83 Oldsmobile, his first car. Well played. Jimmy says a Pinto. Well done, Jimmy.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app with over 16 million subscriptions sold? Well, we thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. She's an artist and absolutely a visual learner. She's doing a deep dive into our Babbel wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Malcolm is very much a type A, say it to my face type of learner. So he checks with Babbel's speech recognition to make sure that accent.
Sur le point.
Keith is sweet. He's a be in the room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto. Estamos prontos.
Wherever you are, however you learn, Babbel is the best choice to break any language barrier. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
In a divorce, it's important to have a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell, a domestic litigation and family law firm. We champion your rights as an individual and your role as a parent, taking an aggressive approach in court while leveling the legal playing field in domestic matters. That's what a champion does. That's what Cordell & Cordell can do for you. Visit us at CordellCordell.com.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
This is Monster Jam. Witness big air, two-wheel skills, backflips, and all-out racing. It's the only place to see the world's best drivers tear up the dirt in your favorite Monster Jam trucks, like Gravedigger, El Toro Loco, Megalodon, and more. It's big-time fun for the whole family.
It's that time.
Hey, Mitch. Mitchie. We're looking for you, pal.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, talking Big Red.
Unleash the fury, Mitch.
Unleash the fury!
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey, Mitch Sherman with us from The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. And, of course, Mitch with the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Check that out every morning. Mitch, how are we doing? Thanks for the time.
I'm doing great. How are you, Schmitty?
We're good. Is snow shovel in hand for you?
Yeah, I've got a shovel handy, but I broke the snowblower. I got a snowblower back in November, and it was still in the box. So I busted open the box today, bought it as a gift for myself because nobody else was buying it for me, and I'm going to try to use it for the first time tomorrow.
Let's hope you don't have to, but I get it. You're well prepared. So started off the show getting a little personal, and Junior sent me a text about how one of his buddies got this phenomenal car, presumably for graduation. I don't know. But he was lamenting the fact that he's driving what he's driving. And I just said, well, this kid's parents really must love him. It spurred on, what was your first car? Weston got an 83 Oldsmobile. Brent had a 69 Chevy. Uncle Jimmy had a 74 Pinto. What did Mitch Sherman drive?
I drove an 88 Ford Escort. That was my first car.
All right. Nice.
Which was an upgrade over the station wagon that my mom allowed me to drive when I was 16. I got that somewhere around the time I turned 17. The 88 Ford blue is blue.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it. I can see it from here, and it was beautiful because it was freedom.
It wasn't a station wagon.
And it wasn't a station wagon.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so to keep this car theme going, what kind of vehicle is Mike Eckler's special teams?
Oh, he's like a Dodge Charger.
All right.
I think, with something extra under the hood.
The Hemi?
Really loud. I mean, you can put a Hemi in a Charger, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's there's something wrong with the muffler. It's making a lot of noise out the back, but that's how it's supposed to be.
It is. You caught up with a couple of folks from Tennessee, not just a couple, but Vitello, the great head baseball coach of Tennessee, and then Chase McGrath, and pretty glowing reviews of just kind of Eckler's approach to special teams. And I think what I took a lot away from your story on The Athletic today, Mitch, but the confidence, and it wasn't like false confidence. He got guys to perform.
Right. They fed off his energy on special teams. And yeah, the thing that I thought was really interesting in talking to Tony Vitello, who won the national championship last year at Tennessee as a 46-year-old baseball coach, and went through the SEC, won the SEC regular season, made it to Omaha, finished with 60 wins. It was a dominant season for Tennessee on the diamond. And in the 4 years that he spent around Mike Eckler, Vitello was there a few years before Eck in Knoxville. And then Mike showed up in 2021. And soon after that, Vitello saw Eckler performing, I suppose you could say, although it's not really a performance, it's very real. He saw his energy and what he brought to the Tennessee football program from afar, watching, and soon Vitello was like, I want to tap into that. I want, and this is an energetic, very, very expressive individual himself, the Tennessee baseball coach, one of the most. He's as much known for that, was probably more known for that than anything before this last season when he took the Vols to a national championship, their first in the sport. And the two of them got to know each other. And the thing that Vitello said that impressed him most about Eckler is that when you find somebody who delivers that much energy and emotion and motivates his players the way that he does in these bursts, what you often don't get is consistency. That you find that person is very up and down, and that wasn't the case from his observations of Mike Eckler. Was that he was in addition to having that high energy level, he was also very consistent. In that, with college players in particular, you need to have consistency as a coach because that's what you're searching for from them, and it can be difficult for players who are 19 or 20 years old to bring that kind of consistency. But that's what the expectation is. And that's how you have to do it if you're going to be successful in something like special teams. So you have to carry over the consistency that you have on offense or defense to the kicking phase, and Eckler has a way of bringing that out in his players.
Mitch, we were touching on consistency earlier, like you talked about. What kind of impact do you think that Mike Eckler can have on Tristan Alvano and John Hull, or even on the long snapping room with Kevin Gallick coming in? What kind of consistency and energy can he bring to those positions specifically to try to get them over some of the struggles they had last year?
Yeah, I mean, with Alvano, it was an injury thing. With Hull, it was just a matter of getting reps, and you saw him in the second half of the season for the most part develop some consistency. Eckler's not going to be a guy who's going to be a technician with the kickers. I think if as long as Brett Maher is still around, they'll lean on him for that, or whoever is coaching the kickers. Maher was with Nebraska all last season, and presumably is still a part of the program. What Eckler's going to do for guys like that, and McGrath spoke to this. Chase McGrath is the kicker for Tennessee, former kicker who made the 40-yard field goal in walk-off fashion as Tennessee beat Alabama for the first time after 15 consecutive losses in 2022. And he said that when he went to the sideline, or when they were on the sideline before Tennessee lined up to kick that thing, that everyone was celebrating before they even went onto the field for the final kick, because of the way that Eckler brought positivity to the kicking game. So he's going to be relentless in the kind of positivity that he brings. And he's going to be telling his players the things that he knows that they need to hear. Even it's almost like he wills them into having a positive attitude. I think that's the vibe that I got from what he did for those guys at Tennessee. And you can think back to him, and it was his first full-time assistant coaching job at Nebraska from 2008 to 2010. So he was just getting his feet wet, and this, this kind of mentality that he brought to a team. He had been at LSU and Oklahoma before that in like a GA role. But that's what I think he can do for the kickers and the long snappers, is just infuse positivity into them. And I don't know that Hull is going to need that going forward. I think he's going to be confident after the way he played in the second half of the season. And Kevin Gallick, the long snapper they brought in from New Hampshire, was one of the best performing long snappers in the country last season. So, that's probably going to be a spot where Eckler doesn't have to worry too much about it. And what a, important upgrade that would be for Nebraska from 25 over 2024.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic, Hail Varsity Radio, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, you want to switch to baseball? Will Bolt kind of laid out some thoughts on the season earlier today. A lot of excitement for Nebraska's rotation beyond just the starters, the lineup, 8 and 9 back, plus young talent that's going to push the older talent. What's your outlook this season in a expanded Big Ten, in a really good opening weekend for Nebraska baseball? What do you think this team can be?
Yeah, a contender in the Big Ten. And I'm excited to see the Big Ten this year. I'm excited to see what Oregon and Washington and the California schools bring. I mean, Oregon is right there as one of the favorites with Nebraska. So it's not all going to be, you can get a break from playing in 30, 40 degree weather if it's early April, depending on how your schedule goes. And it's not just Nebraska, but I think it's going to be kind of a, it's going to be good for the mentality of Big Ten baseball, just to have a place where you can go on the road and be in the league, and it's 70 degrees or 80 degrees no matter when you're playing. And not everybody's going to be able to benefit from that. Of course, some teams are going to play road series at UCLA or USC in May, and when it's nice everywhere. But I think that those programs they help baseball as much as they do any sport. in the Big Ten, and you can kind of have the league goes as its top teams do, and you have more top teams. So I'm interested to see Nebraska next weekend, and my expectation is that they're going to be strong in the starting pitching, led by Mason McConaughey. And I was excited or intrigued by Ty Horn when I watched him pitch last year, and you could just see the talent that he had as a freshman, but he wasn't quite able to put it all together, and had some rough outings. And I think with a year, this is where Rob Childress's his work comes in. And you take McConaughey, you elevate him up from being not the number one starter to the number one starter, and you can see if he can be a top of the league ace. And then somebody like Ty Horn, can he move into that role? I mean, pitching development among the starters, that's how you win, is to get great starting pitching. That's to me the number one thing. So I'm excited to see how those guys do on the mound, and what kind of a lineup Nebraska puts out there.
Mitch, 90 seconds will get you out. Husker basketball, big one against Maryland Thursday. Fred's just doing what Fred does in February. How big of an issue is Berkay in his theoretical absence going to be?
Yeah, against Maryland, it's tough. This is one of the better teams, maybe the best team that Nebraska is going to have played at PBA this year. I mean, you look at UCLA, Illinois, they were ranked teams. I thought Ohio State was a good team that came in on Sunday. Maryland is ranked higher. Nebraska played the Terps close out in College Park. That was part of that skid that the Huskers were on. So in theory, Maryland gets a Nebraska team that's got a much different mindset. I think they already have a different mindset at home. And Nebraska's been good this year at neutralizing bigs, and I think Berkay has been a part of that, but he's certainly not all of it. So if you're gonna run into a situation where you have to adjust, I'd almost rather see it in this kind of a spot where it's on the interior as opposed to having a defensive issue against a great player on the perimeter. I think Nebraska's equipped as a team, and just like with their defensive mentality, to be able to make something work, even if it's kind of patchwork with Braxton Mia and Andrew Morgan and what they're doing. Juwan Gary's going to, of course, factor in there, but he gives up some size to Maryland's front line. So we'll see. I think they'll be okay. Just hope it's not long term. Just hope this isn't the kind of ankle injury that lasts 3-4 weeks or something like that. Sometimes they can do that, and it didn't sound good after the game on Sunday against Ohio State for Berkay's ankle.
Mitch, we'll see you this weekend. Appreciate the time, man.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Me and Chip Maxwell every Saturday morning at 7 or Sunday mornings at 6 for the Retire Smart Radio Show. We'll provide you answers to your most pressing retirement questions and help you navigate ever uncertain financial times. Don't just retire, retire smart. That's Saturday mornings at 7 or Sunday mornings at 6.
Investment advisory services offered through Smart Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor.
Before I was adopted, I felt like nobody wanted me. I felt like my life was already over.
At a certain age, they don't want you. You're troubled and stuff. Even if I wanted to be adopted, who would adopt a 17-year-old?
Inside, I knew, I'm not a troubled kid. I know what I'm in for, why I'm here.
My biggest fear was that I would age out and not know how to be sufficient on my own.
I had nightmares every single day at my birth mom's house. It was just really scary for me living there.
I was scared, I was lost, and I felt hopeless.
I felt like, don't I deserve to feel happy and loved?
I just wish I'd gotten adopted sooner.
Unfortunately, the number of children waiting to be adopted from foster care is on the rise. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is the only public nonprofit charity in the U.S. focused exclusively on foster care adoption. You can help. Go to davethomasfoundation.org to learn more.
I've just been feeling so sluggish lately. You should try the Metamucil 2-week challenge. The Metamucil 2-week challenge? Yeah, Metamucil 4-in-1 fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Start your daily routine now, and in 2 weeks, you could be feeling great. Well, it's been 2 weeks. How you feeling? Lighter and feeling great.
If you want to feel lighter by promoting digestive health, sign up to take the 2-week challenge at Metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs. You sound very calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees. Ooma. Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Hey, this is Dan Bongino, the former NYPD police officer, Secret Service agent, and a TV host.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you at Hail Varsity. Open phones till 5. Josh chimes in. We're talking cars, and cool to hear Mitch had a Ford Escort circa 1988. I can envision that blue. I had a buddy that had a Ford Escort, and it ran. And he's not far off with the Dodge Charger take. If you're going to put a car to Mike Eckler's special teams unit, it says that Dodge Charger with a loud muffler. Josh says Mike Eckler has an H1 military, is a H1 military Hummer. Tweedman 3129 says, Justice, keep your fingers out of your mouth. What was that about? You got a little lunch stock or what?
Yeah, just quickly tried to.
No, that's awful, right? There's no floss available. There's no mirror. Right. You just got to go to no toothpicks here.
Right, just trying to figure
fire
it out.
hazard.
Quick put it. He's like, you don't know where your own fingers have been. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I do, absolutely. We'll get to the phone lines here in a moment. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. We'll mix in a little Fred Hoiberg thoughts as Nebraska faces Maryland coming up. That is on the way in hour 2. Michael Bruntz with Husker 24/7 Sports. Excited to talk to Bruntsy. And then Nick Handley going to join us, part of the Husker Baseball Network. And you can find Nick at Nick Handley OMA and check his podcast out. So it's a lot of time for hope right now if you're looking at Nebraska baseball. When you have this ramp-up period, you look at the rotation and absolutely feel optimistic as a Nebraska baseball fan. And I think, honestly, one of the reasons you feel optimistic, not only because of the offense and the offensive options, but we're talking Rob Childress, right? And as good as it gets when it comes to developing arms, demanding competition, and then really stating the obvious, and that's challenging his guys to Rob wears the strike pumper T-shirt, and that really has been the story of when Nebraska's had amazing teams. Yeah, they've had some fantastic offensive dudes. I think Will Bolt's grittiness. I think Adam Stern. I think Hopper is what I meant to say. Crushing baseballs. And then, of course, Gordo. I mean, they've had a great combination of starting pitching, Hawaiian Punch-Out, Shane Komine, Johnny Dorn. I mean, just go down the list of some of the great teams that were College World Series bound in 01, 2002, and 2005. But they all had really high-level hurlers. Childress' squad at A&M, those squads had high-level hurlers. And he's going to make sure that, you know what, this pitching staff, this bullpen is second to none. And whether you have your best stuff or not your best stuff, you're going to go out there and compete. That's something that he preaches to his guys and demands from them. And if you don't, he'll find somebody that will. Let's hear from Will Bolt and specifically cut to here this pitching rotation as they are on the marquee for this Husker baseball season.
Yeah, so we'll go McConaughey, then Horn, then Walsh, and Brockett in that order.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yep, that is good. More from Bolt on this pitching transformation from one Will Walsh.
I think it's helped him. I think just him staying here this summer, I think he's transformed his body a little bit. He's stronger in some different areas that are more suitable for pitchers. I think he did some things this summer that got him moving a little faster on the mound. And we've seen him at his best. I mean, his misses are always really small, but when he's moving faster, his margin for error is a little bit bigger because his stuff is a little sharper. He doesn't have to rely on, trying to sneak 87 by guys as much anymore. So I think it's benefited him. I think more than anything, just him staying home this summer, making that decision to just kind of go to work on some of that stuff has allowed him to be in this position to start opening weekend.
So let's sit down. Let's have a talk after spring. Let's have a talk after fall. Here's what we like. Here's what you need to get better on. And in that in-between period, go to work on this, come back ready to go. This is what we're asking you. Do you trust us? And a lot of times, guys trust Will Bolt. They trust Rob Childress. They go to work on themselves. They get the guidance. They come back and they perform. Let's talk about this team's depth overall. Options everywhere. Battles at spots. Cut 7.
They show that they can help us win. Yeah, I think that's always the age-old question before every year, right? It's like, oh, the depth's better this year, I think that's just by nature. We feel like it is. We want it to be. I feel like because we have so many returning players that weren't just role players last year, that were everyday players, you have a sense of what they can do. And then we've seen them play in high-pressure situations. Obviously, we see how they respond to that. So you name all those guys, we could roll an entire lineup out the same almost. Obviously, Josh Caron's, big shoes to fill, but then you also have a bunch of guys that we don't talk about as much that have played really, really well too. They give you options. Ultimately, what I'd like to have is, at least 5 or 6 guys that are entrenched. I think you need to have that. You need to have guys that establish themselves as everyday players, and when they do that, they're just consistent over the course of the year. And then you've got some spots maybe in there, 3 or 4 of them, that you can kind of mix and match and play some matchups and defense and some of those things. So I feel like we've got that offensively and on the mound. At the end of the day, we're going to end up riding, a few guys that show that they can help us win.
So that's Will Bolt on this team's deep talent and just how deep is it. Let's talk about the depth on squeeze in, cut 4. First base and second base, got a lot of options.
Stay healthy for a full year for us. Yeah, I think there's certainly some ongoing battles. We're not at the finish line with opening day. But that being said, I think Sanderson's kind of entrenched himself as an everyday player with his body of work from last year, this summer certainly, and what he's shown, back this spring especially. He's a little rejuvenated. I think this fall he went right into it after getting 350 at-bats last spring and summer. So he's been great this spring. He's kind of entrenched himself as an everyday player over there at first base, and he's very good defensively over there. And I think Brumbaugh has kind of settled himself into that leadoff spot and second base position. No problems with injuries. He's feeling good. He's feeling healthy, and look forward to seeing him stay healthy for a full year for us.
We'll have some more from Will Bolt in hour 2. Justin says Nissan Sentra from me. We're taking your first cars. We'll reset why coming up. It's Hail Varsity winding down hour 1.
Worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
145 over 92. 180 over 111.
I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest and then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
When the cold Nebraska temperatures are here, you need a team you can count on. Get comfort and performance with Wellman Heating. Repairs or replacement, call the experts at Wellman Heating and Air. Learn how a new efficient home comfort system by Carrier can keep you warm and even lower utility bills. With special financing, now is the time to find out what's possible with Carrier Comfort. Ask Wellman Heating for details. Turn to the experts. Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning, your factory authorized dealer for Carrier products. Visit wellmanheating.com.
Is your sweetheart a grill master, RVer, or tailgater? Hot Oil and Propane has Valentine's Day gifts that sizzle. Purchase any Camp Chef cook stove and receive a 26-piece griddle accessories kit plus 2 bottles of Camp Chef seasonings and carry.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, reminder to check the podcast out when you search Hail Varsity Radio. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and like and subscribe. Hail Varsity YouTube channel can watch the show. We'll have Nick Handley in the stream. Is covering Husker baseball. Him, David Gustafson, Ben McLaughlin. Is Big Red set to take on quite a starting 4 to get the season kicked off. 489-1240, 489-1240, 800-825-5865 to get in before we say goodbye here. Reminder to get buckled up and hands on the wheel, eyes and focus straight ahead. The driver has one job. That's to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. So we're going to take bets here. No money will exchange hands, but we're going to ask Brunsey and Handley what their first cars were. Wrong answers only in the stream or email. What do you think they drove? What did you drive?
I still have my first car.
That's okay.
It's
a little Escape.
It's a 2005 Mercury Mariner. It's along the same vein, but nicer Bluetooth speaker in there. Yeah, it was my football coach's old car, so he sold it off to us for like $3,000. It had like.
Did you have to share with the brothers and sisters or no?
No. It was all mine.
Okay.
It was all mine from the beginning. Although the one time I did
Were
let my
you
mom drive it.
happy about the Sooner Red or no?
It's fine. It just has
It's a car. You didn't care.
Kind of a maroon. Yeah, I mean, it goes from place to place. It's been a good car. We got it with like 100,000 miles and paid $3,000, so it wasn't that bad at all. So it was nice. And Coach cut me a deal just because I don't know, he liked me. So that was that. But nice Bluetooth speaker. The one time my mom drove it,
So
she backed it into the only light in a Walmart parking lot.
You were
busted out the tail
you're gonna
light.
just throw mom under the bus?
No, she did. The one time she drove it in a Walmart parking lot, backs it in to the only light there, knocks out my tail light, left a dent there. It's still there. It's incredible. Love her though.
How's mom gonna feel about that?
Oh, mom doesn't care. She rags on me for almost running into a fence post with the truck. So yeah.
Okay. I wrecked my first car.
Oh, really?
Hit a light pole.
Oh, that's never good.
No, it happened in a high school parking lot. I was 16. It was summer. Hit a curb, went airborne, Dukes of Hazzard style. Hit the light pole. There went the Oldsmobile. The best story about this is I'm jacked up. I'm kind of crunched up, and my buddy says, "Dude, what'd you do?" So I just was being an idiot. So here comes the old ambulance. Here comes the police. Get dropped off, and the police. And it's funny. I mean, I'm crying. Grandma and Grandpa chipped in on the car. Mom and Dad chipped in on the car. I sold my baseball cards to help chip in on this Oldsmobile. May it rest in peace. And my late father comes down. I thought it was just going to be belt to ass time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he gave me a hug. Then he said, "Do you have any naked pictures of your girlfriend?" Like, well, no, Dad. This is, so do you want to buy some? Because you're not going to be seeing her for 3 months. That was his way of grounding me. Do you want to buy some?
Do you want to buy some?
Yeah.
Like those are free market use.
Uh-huh. Thanks, Dad. Miss you. So we'll check in with Brunsey coming up, hour 2. It's Hail Varsity.
Feet or lower back? Maybe you don't need new shoes. Maybe you need high-quality support in your shoes. That's where the Good Feet store can help you, like Teresa.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet, and the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed. I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. Cowboy boots, running shoes, walking shoes, flat shoes, heels. Makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store.
Live the life you love. Come to the Good Feet store today. Visit the store at 27th and Pine Lake Road across from South Point Mall, or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. Good Feet arch supports are proudly made in the USA. Come in and take a free test walk today.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Hi, this is Dave with Dave's Heating and Air, Lincoln's local family-owned heating and air business.
Dave's Heating and Air is Lincoln's professionals you can trust. Whether you need service, repairs, or a new system, Dave's is here for you. Dave's wants your home to feel comfortable and cozy. Get the peace of mind guarantee and call Dave's for your HVAC needs.
Call me today at 402-480-3004 and talk with a professional. Dave's Heating and Air, doing whatever it takes.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. President Trump of the White House signing another executive order to reform America's federal workforce with the help of his Department of Government Efficiency run by Elon Musk. SpaceX and Tesla billionaires' work has been stymied by judges who have put restraining orders on mass buyouts, layoffs, and stop payments of money that have been earmarked by Congress.
We're talking about billions of dollars that we've already found. We found fraud and abuse.
So far, the president and Musk not providing a lot of evidence. Musk today said his office uncovered Social Security payments to a long-dead person. But the Treasury Department routinely uncovers such fraud through a database of dead persons, and in some cases is able to get reimbursement. Newly freed
American Mark Fogel is leaving Russian airspace, according to the Trump administration, after nearly 4 years of imprisonment on marijuana charges in Moscow, where he was an English teacher. The White House said Russia and the U.S. agreed to an exchange involving Fogel without detailing the terms. It's the third swap in some 2 years between the nations. The White House calling the deal a positive sign as the Ukraine war rages. Chris Boccia, ABC News, Washington.
He doesn't have to buy Gaza, says President Trump, meeting with Jordan's King Abdullah. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
The president was asked about the U.S. buying Gaza, and he said that that's not something that he is talking about doing. He said, we will take it, we will hold it, and we will cherish it. So he is continuing to push on that proposal of his where the United States would go in and somehow take over the sovereign territory.
California Governor Gavin Newsom in Altadena as work begins on clearing away wildfire debris.
The optimism many of the neighbors now feel that it is possible to rebuild and rebuild better, rebuild more strategically.
Wall Street, the Dow gained, the Nasdaq lost, and the S&P 500 was about even. You're listening to ABC News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Keeping an eye on an approaching afternoon, I'm Jeff Moat. 17 degrees, a wind chill of 0 at KFOR. Forecast snow totals for the Lincoln and Omaha areas with this approaching storm are anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, with heavier totals expected further south. KFOR News talked to meteorologist David Pearson at the National Weather Service in Valley. He said snow should start late tonight and move out by early tomorrow morning. He says that they're continuing to monitor the storm's track.
Either way, it looks like the snow is coming, which will be impactful.
A winter weather advisory is in effect from 6 this evening until 6 tomorrow evening. Lincoln police cited a 28-year-old man related to a fatal crash from last summer that left a pedestrian dead. According to LPD, Parker Durham was cited and released for reckless driving. He was driving westbound on West Denton Road between South First and South Folsom Streets just before 1 a.m. on August 4th, where he collided with a pedestrian later identified as 25-year-old Rico Benavidez of Crete. Police say the investigation determined Durham was driving at least 81 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. That speed plus known dangers in the area constituted reckless driving. One person's in a Lincoln hospital in critical but stable condition following a crash late Monday night on Highway 77 where Warlick Boulevard and Denton Road meet. Lincoln police say the intersection was shut down for much of the overnight but reopened around 6 this morning. No word yet exactly what led to the crash. Debate started on a bill from Syracuse Senator Bob Hallstrom that would make it harder to hold private companies liable for data breaches that happen on their watch. Hallstrom's bill is LB 241, which would define a cybersecurity event as a non-public information stored in information system.
Include social security numbers, driver's license or state ID card numbers, financial account or credit or debit card numbers, and biometric records.
Opponents argue the bill is another extension of what's considered to be an ongoing pattern and practice of putting the state government's thumb on the scales of justice favoring corporations. The bill provides a heightened standard of proof requirement in order to bring and successfully win a class action lawsuit. Winter weather advisory from 6 tonight until 6 tomorrow night. Snow likely tonight, 2 to 4 inches possible, low of 8 above. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
These are today's top headlines.
Trump promises to unleash hell on Hamas over their delay in releasing hostages. He also threatened Jordan and Egypt with sanctions if they reject his plan to overtake Gaza. Winter storm warnings in effect for tonight through tomorrow with significant accumulation expected.
Don't miss a thing. Stay connected for whatever's next.
On air and on demand 24/7. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Keep up with the local news, sports, your favorite talk shows, and pro shows on KFOR wherever you roam. Stream us 24/7 at KFORnow.com or on your mobile. You can download the free iHeart or TuneIn app and stream KFOR on the go.
The following is a paid program. Content is provided by Hurrdat Media and may contain pre-recorded material. The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Back with you, it's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey. And we welcome in with Husker 24/7 Sports, Michael Bruntz, and Michael Bruntz on Twitter. Bruntsy, how are you?
Not bad. How's it going?
We are all right. We started this show off shaming my son, Junior, and a text he sent me. The text read, so-and-so is getting an Audi 2024 RS3. And I was like, well, his parents really must love him. Imagine the car you would have if you weren't such a bleep up when it comes to just what we ask of you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'd probably still have the same thing. The kid drives a new car, right? It just doesn't go very fast. One thing led to another. Our good folks in the stream, I asked him, what was your first car? We've had Pintos. We've had, what else? Forgive me. We've had good submissions is the point. Okay.
Impalas.
Impala. Yeah. You had a 69 Dodge. You had a Oldsmobile. Brent drove, what was I saying here? 69 Chevy. Okay. So Mitch had a station wagon, the dreaded station wagon.
Yep.
And we had a kid that could drive to school in 8th grade and junior high. He had a station wagon. 8th grade. We picked him first for dodgeball. What did Michael Bruntz drive? What was your first car?
First one was a 93 Toyota Camry, very sensible middle management type car. Very used. It had, you probably remember the Schmitty, like when you could bolt you had the car phone thing that you actually like bolted into the side of the console. You remember that?
Yeah, the kind of the bag phone /
kind of, yeah.
Right.
So it had the setup for a bag phone, but I didn't actually have the bag phone. But it got me around okay. That was it. I had a buddy that was older than all of us, kind of the same thing where he turned 16 a year ahead of us, and he had a Bonneville. In like early 80s, and you had to like pull that thing into port to park it. So but yeah, a 93 Camry, that was the whip that I had.
Buddy had an 87 Firebird crystal blue. My buddy was from Columbia. And he didn't understand ice and rear wheel sports cars were not good.
Yeah.
So that was a little Dukes of Hazzard-ish. Buck 380 says he had a Ford Fairlane, gorgeous vehicle, 64 Ford Fairlane in 76. Nate said I had a Ford Thunderbird, incredible, love that. Bruntsy, thank you for sharing. You and Marty Bird are proud owners of the Camry.
Yeah, it's it got the job done at Miller North High School in 2000 in 2000, and also probably got the job done taking the kids to school in like 1993, I think. So,
I love it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's big time.
You know, the Camry's like the Dallas Clark of cars. Simple, dependable. You can get productivity out of it.
And all pro, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's just transition to baseball. The make and model you would associate with Will Bolt's starting pitching staff. What car are they?
Good question. It's got to be some kind of truck. I feel like some like a Chevy Silverado.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Is it jacked and does it have those things hanging off the back?
Yeah, maybe a little. Not like it's done some work. Like it's done some fence building, maybe. Some fence posts.
It can go off road.
Yeah,
it's got a gun. It's got a gun rack.
Yeah, you got some veteran guys. You got a little bit of flash if you want it, but I think that's probably where I'd go. So it's a veteran group, and some guys that are just kind of gamers that have been through it, and then you've got some guys that can kind of be your workhorses a little bit, and hopefully for Nebraska that adds up to some good starting performances. But it's a very veteran team overall, and a nice mix of guys that have been through it and some high upside young guys that are going to get their chance to get in there and throw a little bit too.
Michael Brunt's with us, Husker 24/7 Sports. We're talking a little Husker baseball as they get rocking here. Folks been counting down. We'll get to some baseball and football too, Bruntsy. But what do you think this team took from a year ago? They clearly got to hit reset, new season, new schedule, new league. But what are some of those things in the back pocket from a year ago, lessons that they can learn from and be better at this year? What kept them, what held them back a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think offensively, it's probably just a little bit more consistency. I mean, they had a fair amount of balance when you kind of look at what they were able to do statistically, but just not an offense that would just come out and just bludgeon people. They run a lot of one run, two run games. And, it's kind of the same cast of characters back minus Josh Caron. And, I think you kind of saw towards the end of the season and in May and also in the Big Ten tournament, kind of what the upside of that offense could be. I mean, the extra base hits were up. They hit for a little bit more pop. And, you started to see the guys that they had hoped would be kind of the horses and lead that team find their stride a little bit. I mean, Gabe Swanson was a non-factor until the calendar flipped to May last year, and he's one of the best players in college baseball for a month. I think, there's a lot of upside for a guy like Dylan Carey, who hasn't really put it together yet for a full year. And, they've got some nice pieces back on the infield that they feel good about. I think Case Sanderson's probably, a future star for Nebraska. I mean, he's already kind of a known quantity around college baseball, but I think more people are going to know his name here locally just for what he's able to do. So I think they're going to be able to score some runs. And then on the mound, I think what you saw was guys kind of taking the lessons from last year. I mean, Mason McConaughey, non-factor, kind of a bullpen guy until March, and then all of a sudden he was pitching just as good as Brett Sears was down the stretch. Jackson Brockett's been through it. Will Walsh, they're both going to start this first weekend. They've kind of been through it and have that experience, and they've got guys behind him like Drew Christo, Jalen Worthley, guys that have thrown a lot of pitches for Nebraska. So it's a really veteran team, and I think that helps you, especially earlier in the year, as Nebraska's really scheduled pretty aggressively with what they have these first couple weekends.
Bruntsy, when you look at the roster as a whole, some of the additions they brought in, either via the portal, the JUCO route, any of the freshmen, or maybe even a returner, is there one guy that people aren't talking about enough that you're really high on this Husker baseball team? Yeah,
I mean, I think, Cale Frost is probably one. that stands out. He was the Summit League Player of the Year last year at South Dakota State. He's going to play right field for Nebraska. Just has a lot of pop in his bat. I think he's going to be a factor in that lineup. They've got a few guys, across the outfield that I think are going to be kind of centerpieces of the offense. Riley Silva's back in center field. He was really good last year as a really kind of plus defender and found a way to get on base. It felt like he was getting hit by pitches about every other at bat for a little while there. So I'd say Frost. I think a guy, maybe in the starting rotation. You heard a little bit from Tyner Horn last year, but he was a well regarded high school pitcher in Kansas. Didn't give up an earned run his entire senior season. The 0.00 ERA, and had to come to college baseball and kind of took his lumps. And I think he's going to be Nebraska's Saturday guy out of the gates, and he's got the stuff that, I think he's a future Friday night guy. So I think Horn and Frost, I think, are two guys to kind of keep an eye on and see how kind of fast they can kind of hit the ground running early in the year.
Michael Brunt's with us, Husker Baseball Preview, Hail Varsity Radio. Ego, chemistry, guys chasing numbers versus the good of the team. Do you think that is something that, every team deals with it, but do you think collectively these guys are ready to go we versus me?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you kind of have to, just because you have so many guys that could probably step in and play. There's probably 12, 13 guys that they could put in the lineup every day and feel pretty comfortable about who they were mixing and matching with. And, with pitching roles, it's always tough because everybody wants the ball and to be a starter. But, for the team to have success, you need guys like Drew Christo coming out of the bullpen and giving you 2 or 3 innings or something like that out of the bullpen on a Friday night. Or you need Jalen Worthley to come in and be a really solid left-handed reliever option versus coming in there and starting, which he could do. So, I think, when you kind of look at the makeup of Nebraska's roster, it's a lot of JUCO guys. And I think sometimes when guys have gone the JUCO route to get to where they're going, I think there's a little bit bigger understanding of the big picture and the team aspect of things. And so I think, this team is set up for that. I think this is a team that, kind of felt like they fell short of what they thought they were last year a little bit. And with so many of those guys coming back, I think they kind of understand the bigger picture and how they're going to have success. So, I've not gotten the sense that there's a ton of ego over there. I think the thing you kind of have to watch sometimes are guys going into their junior year, their draft eligible year and chasing stats and things like that. And that becomes more of a mental thing. I think, Swanson kind of fell into that a little bit last year, but beyond that, I think this is a group of veteran guys that really kind of understands what it takes at this level to win.
Yeah, Brunty, I want to ask you this. When you look back at last season, a lot of the big problem with this team was the bullpen depth and what that played in the pitching depth in the midweek. I think back to the Indiana series last year, you were up 7-2 in the Friday game, and then all of a sudden, Devin Taylor and the boys get it rallying. The bullpen depth just wasn't there. Have you seen any improvement with what they brought in the offseason, some of the young arms they have, or maybe some returning pieces that you think took a step forward? Do you think they can be better and maybe one of the better part of the teams this year?
Yeah, it's funny. Bullpen depth, you always kind of look at it in February, you're like, man, this team is so much deeper than a year ago. And then, you get to April and you're kind of like, well, where'd all that depth go? I think they've got guys that slot in pretty well to roles that they can have success with. The midweeks are always tough because you're not going to kind of blow your high leverage guys that are kind of like your bullpen guys on Tuesdays and Wednesdays if you can help it. But I think the thing that that you have to like about this pitching staff is they kind of have their pool of maybe like 8 or 9 guys that you're going to count on the weekends. And then they brought in a pretty talented freshman class. And, those guys are potential options on midweeks later in the season. They've got some kind of long relief options. And I think the talent level is just a little bit higher on this pitching staff this year to where, if you have to have a guy go a couple innings, the guys that are there are a little bit more comfortable doing that. And you run into this sometimes on Tuesdays and Wednesdays where you got a Johnny Allstaff at sometimes, and it's not the best way to live, but I think there's, a little bit more talent in the group to be able to have success doing that. We'll see. I mean, it looks good now. Like I said, by March or April, he might be thinking a little bit differently, but I think they have upgraded from what they had a year ago, especially in that bullpen and kind of the middle relief guys.
Brunsey, 90 seconds will get you out. Football question with the official word on Eckler. Immediate upgrade where on special teams? Is it field goal? Is it punting? Is it punt return?
Yeah, I think I'm eager to see what they do punt return wise. I mean, that was an area at Tennessee where they were aggressive with returning kicks and punts. And, I think, Nebraska's had good intentions with that. They obviously have not had a ton of success with that. It's tougher to do nowadays. I think part of it's attitude and just like, we are going to return kicks and we are going to try to make a big play here. I think they also recruited that spot well. I mean, and identified guys on Tennessee's roster that could help them. And I do think that Nebraska has more potential return options this year than what they did last year or the year before that. I mean, it felt like so often Nebraska was just trying to get the ball back and hand it over to the offense. But, I think there's the potential that, to make a few game-changing plays in that group if you can find the right returner and you kind of just, coach it and make it part of your DNA as a team that, you're going to affect the game in a positive way with your punt and kick returns. So I think that's where you could see his influence the most. Obviously they tried to upgrade personnel at snapper and punter, but I think it's just kind of the overall approach to special teams with a little bit more aggressiveness. I think you could see some benefit there.
Brunsey, we'll talk again soon. Appreciate you much.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Good afternoon from the 1011 Newsroom. I'm Cole Miller. Coming up, we're tracking the latest when it comes to that chance for snow. Lincoln now in a winter storm warning. Plus, the University of Nebraska is touting its economic impact, not just here at home, but across the country. We'll take a look at the numbers. And we're hearing from Husker baseball. The team kicks off the 2025 campaign later this week. These stories and much more tonight.
Pillar Restaurant Group is happy to announce that Piedmont Bistro by Venue is now open for dinner on Sundays. Join us every Sunday night for our brand new Chef Select menu, a 3-course dinner where you pick from our selection of fresh appetizers, brand new specialty entrees created by our chef, and a delicious house-made dessert to finish it all off. Or you can order from our a la carte menu full of our neighborhood favorite dishes. See the full menu online at PiedmontBistro.com. That's PiedmontBistro.com. Get all of your favorite restaurants delivered with VenueDelivered.com. One place for ordering delicious appetizers, refreshing salads, hot entrees, fresh sandwiches, and more. From Venue Restaurant and Lounge, Piedmont Bistro, and all Lincoln Good Sense Subs locations. Download our phone app to earn rewards on all of your carryout and delivery orders. Available on Apple and Android, just search for the Pillar Restaurants app. That's the Pillar Restaurants app. Download today.
Are you just as confused as I am about low T remedies? There's so much nonsense. Order here, call here, text this number. How would you know who is best? The experts at Limitless Mail are the best. It's what they do. It's all they do. They would never throw a bottle of pills at you and say, try this. Limitless Mail monitors your symptoms and levels and makes adjustments so you feel your absolute best. Trust the experts. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmail.com.
Yesterday, your water heater worked just fine. Today, surprise. When you're out of hot water, just call the plumbers at Bryant. In most cases, you can get same-day water heater replacement. What you won't get is a costly surprise with the bill. At Bryant, the price you're quoted is the price you'll pay. No last-minute extras for piping or ventilation alterations. Need a new water heater? Just call Bryant, 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Race to savings at Menards and start updating your home today. We have what you need to give your bathroom a fresh, updated look. Shop Menards' great selection of bathroom products from American Standard. No matter the size of your bathroom, American Standard offers a superior line of toilets, faucets, sinks, and bathtubs. Complete your bathroom update today with American Standard.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Tail Varsity, Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhodey. Here he is. You're going to hear him with Husker Baseball on the network. Mr. Nick Handley. Check out his pod and show, The Nick Handley Show. Mr. Handley, come on down, brother. The stash looks good. How are you?
It's not just a stash, Schmitty. There's beard, but when you go gray in the bottom of the beard and the stash doesn't go gray, then it just looks like I got a stash, man.
Well, it's all right. I wasn't gonna check the nose hairs and zoom in too far. But yeah, going gray on the chin and the sides. Yeah. Talk to me. I mean, I look like Santa. Or bad Santa a little bit. So we gotta say, Captain shouted out yesterday when we kind of announced the lineup. And is this true? Did you throw the first touchdown pass ever in Millard West history?
I can confirm that. Yeah, that's it went to a gentleman, and I haven't talked to him in a very long time, but Josh Conway was the recipient of a floating duck as I was under duress against Omaha Benson. Randy, Stella, and Kenton Keith led Benson Bunnies.
Yeah, no, I know Stella. Yeah.
And I want to say the score was 58-19. Of course, we lost, but I at least contributed to that 19 points with the first touchdown heave in Millard West history. And Dan McLaughlin, who's now coaching with Larry Martin over at Omaha North, but one of the best head football coaches, really one of the best coaches I've ever been with, bar none. He could confirm that too. This isn't just me trying to elevate my stature.
And I kind of shared the story about Crouch being on with us many moons ago, giving you hell.
You mean what my sole purpose in life was just to warm him up on the sideline?
No, well, just about how hard you threw.
Oh, yeah. Well, and again, people forget, Crouch, he ran the option extremely well, as good as anybody else. The guy he had a cannon. He just didn't get to showcase that at Millard North in the wing bone offense, and then also over at Nebraska. But that dude he had a howitzer. He really did. So my arm, it paled in comparison, but as a lefty, it was a little bit better than Josh Heupel's. Okay, it wasn't a total squirt gun.
Were you throwing punts up there like Heupel? Were you more of a Marinovich pre-freak out? I mean, you're kind of a Kenny Stabler type, weren't you?
Are you Marinoviching because I used to have red hair? Because when I had hair, I was a ginger. Is that a ginger thing?
It's a lefty thing.
It was. I like to consider myself more of a less seasoned Scotty Mitchell, the old Detroit Lions, where you had the half spiral. It wasn't necessarily end to end. It almost had the side spiral spin, but it had a little more velocity than that of a Josh Heupel for sure.
Well, Scotty Mitchell came in with Utah in the late 80s, and
I knew you'd know that.
I think made McBride reach for tobacco again.
Yeah, see, who didn't watch a Sunday afternoon at the old Silver Dome and seeing Scotty Mitchell hurling it for a really bad Lions team?
Oh, that was good. How about this baseball team, man? Let's talk a little bit. Heard from Coach Bolt in his presser, and seeing this team like you have past few seasons, what are your expectations? You look at the Big Ten, you look at what's returning, you look at lessons learned a year ago. What can they do? What can they be?
I think this is going to be cliche, but I think they're going to be as good as these veterans take them. They're going to be as good as this rotation takes them, and it's pretty damn good. And you heard Will talking about it today, and when we had a chance to meet with them a couple weeks ago, there's that quiet confidence with Will. He's never going to put the cart in front of the horse yet, but I think their eyes are pretty big with what this team can do. And I think the non-conference schedule proves that even going into those types of matchups with the Irvines of the world, top 25 team, with Vanderbilt, top 25 team, with LSU the following week, and in some polls as high as number 2 preseason. You look at Oregon State coming to Haymarket Park. I mean, this is a loaded non-conference schedule. The only good thing about the schedule you can say as far as a bit of a break is they avoid Oregon. But that West Coast trip is going to be massive with UCLA, Pepperdine, and USC. So they've got a lot of challenges, but I think they're excited for it. And so when I think of this team, first and foremost, what Will talked about, and I think it just kind of beams when you talk to not only the coaching staff but the players too, is that culture. I mean, you've got some of the most unselfish guys. A guy like Jalen Worthy, who easily could be a starting pitcher for so many different Big Ten teams, heck, for so many other college baseball teams, is cool with solidifying his role in the bullpen because he knows that that's going to be a huge piece of what they're doing from a pitching standpoint. And I think if you're looking at this team trying to fulfill those preseason rankings and expectations, it starts with what they're doing on the mound from a starting rotation standpoint, but also what they could potentially do out of the bullpen. There's a lot of ways they can hurt you, and that's gonna be on test right out of the gate.
Yeah, Nick, when you look at this lineup and what they bring back, obviously you get a couple key transfer pieces in. You get Cale Frost, Summit League Player of the Year. You get Hogan Haligso from Creighton to solidify the backstop position. What are you looking at in terms of this lineup? What can they be? How malleable can they be? And you know, how many runs do you think they're going to put up? Because this is a loaded lineup from 1 to 9.
And it's a great problem to have, right, Justice? It's a problem that I think that's what these next 2 weekends also serve, is trying to find the right combination. You know, you've got dudes. Cale Frost, as you mentioned, is a Summit League Player of the Year. I mean, at times the game just looked flat out easy to him. I think of Hogan Haligso, watching him as much as I had a chance to at Creighton, you know, catching and starting 122 games as a collegiate backstop is huge. And you know, let's talk about the middle too. You know, when you have a Silva out there who is a base stealing machine, and a guy that I know I saw on the stream there, by the way, hey, Kobe, missed you too, buddy. Riley Silva was a big part of what they did in the Big Ten tournament too. I mean, he got hot at the right time. And I think they're looking a little bit more of that type of Riley Silva, but his speed is such a weapon. He's a guy that you could lead off with if you really wanted to, but you can also hit in that 8 or 9 spot as a second leadoff guy as well. You know, Cale Frost defensively is very solid too. I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue when it comes to how they want to handle the outfield as well, because, you know, where are you going to put Max Butenbach? Who had a great summer. We saw him limited action last year in actual collegiate games, but what he did in the Northwoods League was massive. They want his bat in there. So, you know, what are you going to maybe give up defensively too? So there's going to be that fine line of who gives us the best chance to win if you're Will Bolt, of at the plate when you're dealing with some of these elite arms that they're going to see right out of the gate, as opposed to, okay, now we're holding a lead late in the game. Do we take maybe a Gabe Swanson out of the game and replace him as a, you know, for a defensive replacement, and make sure we're solidifying the defense? But the good news is, whoever is not in that starting lineup, when you need an at bat, you can go to that guy. When you need a defensive replacement, whether we're talking about on the infield at the corners or in the outfield, you've got guys there, the depth and the overall veteran experience, and then the new faces that also bring in collegiate baseball experience. It's probably as good as it's been that I can remember. It definitely as good as it's been in the Will Bolt era, and definitely a lot of the teams that Darren had too.
Nick Handley's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, Husker baseball coverage this season. Ben McLaughlin, David Gustafson, and Mr. Nick Handley. Excited to hear him on the network, and of course AM 590. So I want to get your take here on Cristo, a guy that has been through a lot of it, really talented ball player, and going to be one of those anchors in the bullpen. What does he come into this season feeling, do you think? I'm trying to put you in his mind's eye with his full experience, matching that with the talent.
I think he's finally found that role that he's embraced. I mentioned Jalen's unselfishness when it comes to a guy that's got starter stuff that is okay with the long relief role and being able to have that type of length out of the bullpen. Drew Christo, I think, thrived in that role. And the main thing that Rob Childers did that I think was vital was being able to balance that strikeout to walk ratio, where I think that can still improve this year. But what he did last year compared to the 2 previous years was massive from that standpoint. For him just to get count leverage is early and as basic as just hitting the strike zone early on in at-bats and having the advantage on the mound. He's really emphasized that. So I think he's in a good place mentally and physically. He looks good. Between him and Will Walsh, those guys, from the strength and conditioning standpoint, they've got the good size on him, but more of that flexibility that you're going to be able to see him. You know, he's a stretcher. He's a guy that can reach with that ball. So what he's doing from a length standpoint when he's releasing the baseball and he's hitting the lower half of the zone, those are all, I think, very, very big positives for him. And so what I would expect Drew Christo to have, that sort of those demons behind him of, oh gosh, it's 2-0, or runners at first and second, I just got behind 3-1. I got to serve up a fastball. Now he's controlling the zone. He's working 3 pitches as a strike. His changeup has gotten exceptionally better, but he's got confidence that he can throw that early as a strike as well. He can pitch from behind. He can pitch backwards at teams. And I think that was something in his first couple of years. It was so fastball heavy because that was the only thing he was getting over the plate, but he was doing so in 2-0 or 2-1 counts where the batter had the advantage. So I think his ability to get that count leverage and to be able to pick up from where he left off last year, I think he's as confident he's been. I just think he's in the best place that he's been because of that role where you're not getting the ball right out of the gate. You're coming in. He's come into some pretty dicey situations last year, and he was able to erase the threat. And I think he really thrives. He's a competitor. The guy is an absolute competitor, and I think he loves that role.
Takes a special dude mentally to come in high pressure situations and then not fight yourself on the hill if it doesn't go, Mariano for you.
And that's a rare breed right there too, and you got those types of guys. So yeah.
Hadley, can you hang tight? We're up against a hard break. Yeah. Can I get 2 minutes on the other side with you?
You bet.
All right. There he is, Nick Handley, with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, part of Nebraska baseball, as you'll hear him all season long, along with David Gustafson, of course, Ben McLaughlin, and so much excitement. I mean, during the 6-game basketball skid, the countdown to baseball season and softball season began. Now things are looking up and up for the Fighting Freds. It's February Fred, big one Thursday night. We may dive into a little bit of Husker basketball with St. Nick coming up. And then we'll wind down a little bit more from Coach Will Bolt, his expectations of the season. Hang tight. Tuesday edition with you. Find us on the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter. Can download the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play when you search Hail Varsity Radio. More with Nick Handley, Justice Rhodey, Chris Schmidt. It's Hail Varsity YouTube channel.
Comfort in your ankles, knees, hips, feet, or lower back? Maybe you don't need new shoes. Maybe you need high-quality support in your shoes. That's where the Good Feet store can help you, like Teresa.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet, and the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed. I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. Cowboy boots, running shoes, walking shoes, flat shoes, heels. Makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store.
Live the life you love. Come to the Good Feet store today. Visit the store at 27th and Pine Lake Road across from South Point Mall, or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. Good Feet arch supports are proudly made in the USA. Come in and take a free test walk today.
It's called the 340B Hospital Markup Program. Hospitals mark up discounted drugs and pocket the difference, charging patients $5,000 for cancer drugs they bought for $500 and suing patients that can't pay. It's how big tax-exempt hospitals abuse the 340B program. If patients aren't benefiting, where's the money going? Learn more at 340bmarkup.org. Paid for by Pharma.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery. Ends President's Day. Exclusively the Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Well, this never ceases to amaze. Live auction items up for bid. Handley, Justice, Joe Paterno eyeglasses. Official Joe Paterno eyeglasses. Now, ... excellent for looking the other way.
Oh!
But I'm just thinking,
Oh,
these things are hairy, carry thick. How many ants can you take down with them?
I was going to say I could probably somehow string 2 magnifying glasses together and have a connector and then put like a little rim on it, little wire frames. And I could tell you that they were Joe Paws. So you're telling me the peripheral is very good on those things, just not looking right ahead.
I think they're all problematic.
Just on the corner of your eye.
Yep.
They're all problematic. So we got into this discussion. I meant to lead off with you. Brunsey drove a Toyota Camry, his first car. Told the story about me wrecking my Oldsmobile. And Mitch Sherman had a Ford Escort / a station wagon. We got onto this topic because Junior texted Mama and me about how his buddy got an Audi 2024 RS3.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, dude, his parents really love him. So we got you an Audi. It didn't work. You don't get up on time. You don't pick up after yourself. You're lucky you have your car now quiet. What did Handley drive?
I like Mitch. I did have a celebrity station wagon, the 85 Celebrity Wally wagon with wood paneling. It had the gunner seats. So the 2 people sitting in the back were actually facing the cars coming up behind us.
You hate it now. Wait till you drive it. Was it puke green like
no,
vacation?
It was, straight up wood paneling. So you had a pretty sexy tan with some darker tan accents.
Right. And then Nader had a Dodge Caravan with the woody panels.
Yeah. It was, although it was a little bit more luxurious. This was the thing to have in 1985, right off the heels of National Lampoon's Vacation. But what I would tell you about the accident, so it's funny you brought up the touchdown pass. So my parents had just gotten a 1995 Mazda 626, And their big thing was like, okay, yeah, you can drive the car to your first varsity football game. And as I was backing it out, I rubbed some paint on my brother's car that was parked there, and I was never to drive that car ever again. So that day started off a little auspicious, and I felt pretty bad. My head was not in a good space because I did have a minor accident with my own brother's car on my way to Buell Stadium that day.
So
otherwise, it could have been. I mean, we might have won the game if I was in a better headspace.
Well, yeah. Who gave you the worst beating, brother or mom?
I'd still like to say mom's words hurt.
Right.
They hurt really bad.
Not mad.
But I could still say the Benson defense gave me the worst beating that day.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's talk Ty Horn as we wind it down. Love his competitiveness, love his stuff. Guys learned to, as you were touching on, kind of mix his pitches. But what's his ceiling, dude?
He can be a stud. I don't think it's any fluke that they're going to roll him out against Vanderbilt. If the rotation holds the following, or in 2 weeks, I don't want to look past Louisiana Lafayette, but in 2 weeks when they get LSU, the second game of the Frisco Classic, that'd be Mr. Ty Horn. Kind of similar from the offensive standpoint of Max Butenbach, where the summer really elevated him. What he was able to accomplish just from getting bigger, bodies right. He's controlling the fastball. He's getting it up there to 95. So there is that velocity, but then there's that confidence that comes with it. And I know Will talked about this today too, about just him essentially experiencing those highs, but then coming back down. A lot of those guys that have the type of stuff that he has, it's a matter of time when that confidence and that ability click, that those guys can be dangerous. And I think the feeling is, when he's going 92, 95, but then he's got a pretty elite slider that is got some major cut to it as well. So you're talking about a fastball 92, 95 that's got some movement, but also a slider that's got a little cut and a changeup, and he's throwing a plus curveball. He's getting those for strikes. And so there's that type of explosive stuff. If you didn't have Mason McConaughey, there's no question in my mind Ty Horn would be your Friday guy because he's got Friday stuff. The big difference between he and Mason is that consistency. Mm-hmm. And so he locks that in, and he's been able to be humbled by those more low points that he experienced last year. He's going to be pretty special this year. He might be very similar to what they had out of Mason a year ago as that type of Saturday guy, where he can be the guy that's winning you a series, or he can be that all-important guy that, hey, we had a bad one Friday. We need you to send Sunday into a rubber match type of game.
Nick Handley's with us. Nick, tell folks where they can find you, brother.
I'm over on the Husker Max YouTube channel doing the podcast, and then also Caleb Henry and I are doing one every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Husker Max daily. So doing that, and then Husker baseball will be flying out Thursday just in the nick of time with all this winter weather around, and away we go, man. I had to rub that in there too.
No, you're leaving Mama with the shovel.
Well, that's true too. I'm happy. I'm not happy about this, but if it was going to snow, I'm glad it's tomorrow and not necessarily Thursday, because there's not much I can do on Thursday once wheels are up. So,
Nick, appreciate you, brother. Great insight. We'll do this again. All right, man.
Always great talking about, man.
Serious. There he is, Nick Handley with us. Check out his pod. Check out his work. Hear him with Big Red Baseball for sure. This season, as a lot of big things for the Big Red. Let's squeeze in a little more Will Bolt before we got to step away. And you have Coach Bolt talking about, this team, this group, and the veteran group, but more so Cut 11. Let's talk about what this weekend can and will reveal for Nebraska baseball.
Well, you learn every time you go out, that's for sure. But right out of the chute, playing these type teams is kind of like last year. I thought, we left the weekend 1-2, but I felt awfully good about our team. Not that we played close and lost, but just that there were some moments there that didn't pass us by that the other team just took advantage of. And so I feel like we're gonna find out a lot, but it doesn't define our season either. I think we just have to stay very consistent in what we do. And we have a veteran club. We have a bunch of guys that have seen it, have been there and done that. And, but they understand also that it's a new season as well. So we'll learn a lot, just like we do any weekend. But certainly playing in that type of venue against those opponents that we're going to play this weekend, starting with Irvine especially, we'll learn a lot pretty quick.
Love that. It's a learning process. It's a test early, but it's not an epitaph. A lot of season, but it is there for you to really springboard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kind of grow into that potential.
Yep.
And launch. We'll wind down a Tuesday. Good to be with you on Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter. You can find me at Schmidt_radio, at Justice Rhodey. One final time when we come back. Loss. Now's the time to commit to a healthier you and be ready for spring and summer. Regain the energy you remember from years ago and enjoy every aspect of your life more. For those of us just a bit past our prime, metabolism gets out of balance, causing weight gain, fatigue, heart issues, and other illnesses. At Lincoln Weight Loss, they can help you take control of your metabolism and end the cycle of weight gain and frustration.
Metabolic syndrome is far more common than most people realize. It affects your ability to lose weight, and diet alone isn't enough. The Lincoln weight loss approach targets the root cause of weight gain, your metabolism. This proven system will help reset your metabolism so you can lose up to 1 pound of fat per day and keep it off with no exercising, pre-packed foods, or counting calories.
The Lincoln Weight Loss Program helped me lose 30 pounds quickly by resetting my metabolism so I can keep the weight off for good. Schedule your free consultation today at LincolnWeightLoss.com or call 402-520-8170.
Hi, this is Dave with Dave's Heating and Air, Lincoln's local family-owned heating and air business.
Dave's Heating and Air is Lincoln's professionals you can trust. Whether you need service, repairs, or a new system, Dave's is here for you. Dave's wants your home to feel comfortable and cozy. Get the peace of mind guarantee and call Dave's for your HVAC needs.
Call me today at 402-480-3004 and talk with a professional. Dave's Heating and Air. Doing whatever it takes.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Oh, please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be
Really the refund.
limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
When the cold Nebraska temperatures are here, you need a team you can count on. Get comfort and performance with Wellman Heating. Repairs or replacement, call the experts at Wellman Heating and Air. Learn how a new efficient home comfort system by Carrier can keep you warm and even lower utility bills. With special financing, now is the time to find out what's possible with Carrier Comfort. Ask Wellman Heating for details. Turn to the experts. Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning, your factory authorized dealer for Carrier products. Visit wellmanheating.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
And now.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time. Tomorrow we'll say hi to Evan Bland. We'll check in with Mr. Mike Babcock. So, got to ask Nebraska basketball fans this. The rare instance you do root for Creighton basketball. I don't dislike Creighton basketball. Love their coach. Buying pizza for everybody tonight. And really appreciate what Creighton's done. And the main reason I don't dislike Creighton is because of Jeff the pharmacist, my dear buddy. That's where he went to pharmacy school. So I ask this. Creighton's -3.5 tonight. They get the chance for the season sweep against UConn. Do you dislike Creighton more than you dislike Coach Hurley? It's really a simple question. And it's kind of hard to dislike somebody more than Coach Hurley. Just
Really?
I think he's a good coach. I think he's a whiny psychopath. What? You surprised?
I think,
especially the way he mouths off to opposing students. I know the students are giving it to him, but students are supposed to do it.
I think for me, I'd like to play for a guy like that. I want a guy who walks into the gym with a swagger.
There's swagger, and then there's the inability to sometimes get out of the locker room and then into the gymnasium because your head's so big.
He's got a brashness. I mean, I respect it. I look at his X's and O's stuff, the way he handles his team, and I respect it. I like Coach Mack, too. I think Coach Mack is one of the best offensive minds in the game right now with what he's done and what he's put together with Creighton. So, I mean, for me, I'm just looking forward to the basketball, to be totally honest. I think that's going to be one heck of a game.
Good ball game. You've got kind of a do or die time for Texas tonight as they're bubblicious. They host number 2 Bama. You have Arizona at K-State. K-State whacked KU over the weekend.
That'll be a good game.
Purdue's at Michigan. The old Wolverines quietly at 18-5. Michigan's -2.5. Then there's my old Kentucky home hosting number 5 Tennessee. Tennessee -3.5. Florida's at Mississippi State. Vandy right now at 17-6. They are one of 4,000 SEC teams in. Does Auburn shake themselves? This is a dangerous spot. They're favored by 8.5. How many shots has Bruce Pearl had before tip-off? I love BP.
I think he's sensational with what he's done. I mean, he's built pretty much inarguably.
Georgia also. Georgia's statement opportunity against number 8, the Fighting Trevs of A&M -8.5. So good slate of hoops.
Great slate.
You got an upset for me?
Golly. I mean, I think is Kentucky dogs or are they favored?
Kentucky's underdogged.
Kentucky's dog. I love them in that game against Tennessee.
Okay.
They shoot the bejesus out of the ball. I love them in that matchup.
There you go. Don't blame me, but your lock of the night from one Justice Rhodey says, take Kentucky into points. Hammer it.
Yeah, Tennessee's been on a bad run of form recently. So
over under 140.
Oh, I'm taking the over.
Okay.
There's no way that game goes under, not with the way both teams play offense.
I get it, but Tennessee, I mean, they scored 64.
I mean, you're looking at 70 apiece right there. So if you say it gets 72, I think it does.
Okay. Tennessee's able to play in the upper 60, mid 70, upper 70s. That's their neighborhood.
And Kentucky can get to triple digits.
We will see if Justice is right. Back tomorrow at 4. Thanks for tuning in with Hail Varsity.